Welcome back to the Bobescast. We're back, we're visual, and we're in pain. See, pain. The Springboks, yet again, have lost a game that, for all intents and purposes, they should have won. But analyzing that isn't my job. I've got Gcobani Bobo, the Bobs.
Yeah, let's just go straight into it. I mean, if you're looking at first half, we had 78% of ball possession, 22 for English, but we still could not convert that into perfect position for us to actually take the game away from them. If you think about that, those 4 lineouts in attacking position, you think to yourself, set up a driving more penalties, more yellow cards, and in that way you convert that pressure. None of that pressure was converted. Although we still look at the whole stats of the game now, 24 turnover possession from 10 over just carrying the ball and losing into contact, losing 4 lineouts, losing 1 scrum, and those are the perfect positions to start putting pressure on the team. So for us, again, we go back to the same thing. Is it because the players are not executing on the field? Is it the players not capable to execute on the field? And when do we start to make those decisions that would drop players who are not playing at the level?
The dropping of players aside, all eyes on Angus. He's Tupac, the calls he made. I mean,
Angus, first of all, he was, I think he was overwhelmed in so many ways in the situation. 82,000 at Twickers, and then having this team, he has to make that big call. He didn't really make those big calls. I felt that he was a bit gun shy when he had to make the call. Yeah, low tackle 16, and then you check it out. What does it mean? Player has to show a full attempt of grappling and making sure that he gets the grasp onto the player. Whilst with someone dropping their shoulder with their arm down, that's not how you tackle. Even if you talk about tackle technique, you have to have your arms up so that you can have a wrap. If you have your arms up from underneath, in that way you don't go for the high tackles. So that, for me, just technically, that was illegal.
But do you feel that Boks fans have every reason to be aggrieved? Because remember the Mendoza test when South Africa lost to Argentina? The ref was Angus Gardner.
Well, I don't think so. As I mentioned, we had 78% of possession in the first half. That's where you bury teams, especially if you think you have the quality that beat the All Blacks in Wellington without the ball. Now they gave you 78% chance to beat them, and you don't do it. I think the refs are lost cause.
There's France this week, and we know France, nice kits, nice tracksuits, but very inconsistent. Very inconsistent,
but what is quite interesting is to see the new players, the youngsters who have started coming back. I think they scrum off Kubi Dupont, and he's one of those players who came back from injury, playing for Toulouse. I think is going to be quite a vital card because this guy can actually do game management. We talk about our youngsters, Papir, we talk about Ifan van Saal, the scrum off. This guy's same age, 19, but he runs big clubs and he runs big teams.
Again, it's interesting that you talk about the scrum-offs because you also lift up Baptiste Serra. How interesting is that scrum-off battle going to be? Because, I mean, as you correctly alluded to, that France play a lot of their rugby off their night. Their fly-off is effectively as someone who just shifts the ball on.
Definitely, and this is why it's important when we talk about game management. It's how you transfer the pressure for your forwards to get onto the front foot and to make sure that your backs finish off the play. So now with these youngsters, they do that week in, week out in the top 14. And for them, this is money. This is money for Jam because now they got a pack that can give them the ball and opportunity. They can stress the Springboks if the Springboks are not up to it, and they're gonna give away such silly possessions.
You raised the important issue of scrums. We saw Thomas du Toit being used as a loose-head prop. Granted, he's played loose-head for the better part of his formative rugby career, but they used him as a tight head to some success this season. But in a crunch match against an England side that didn't scrum very well, but as soon as he came in, he lost the penalty. How important, how controversial is that decision now, and what kind of effect does that have on players who are primarily tight ends?
So it's so right. As a player, you want clarity in terms of what is your role and your responsibility in the setup. And I think now what has happened is that he has given a lot of those loose heads a bit of a mixed, mixed information, because now you're thinking to yourself, I'm here competing week in, week out in my provincial team, making sure that, I mean, Thomas put some money away for him to go to the title because he knew that if he doesn't make that successful, he has to probably get onto the plane and go play elsewhere, either overseas or somewhere. So he's put the time into it. Time in the saddle, all of a sudden get called up as a lucid. So I think that's where Rassie has to really have clarity, and now it's the time, because we can't be constantly driving back points that while we're playing players out of positions, but then we want them to play in that position at provincial level.
there's the significant matter now of the tour starting off on the wrong footing. France, what do people need to expect from the Springboks? Because clearly the Boks win games they're supposed to lose, and they lose games that they're expected to win.
Definitely going to win this one if we go that way, because we always, I think South African, the mental psyche is still, it's a struggle when we are favorites. That's when we never come up. I think one thing that South Africans are good at is when backs against the wall now, everyone has to step up and show what they're capable of. That's when we seem to be swimmingly. But once we are favorites, I think mentally we need to really make so many step-ups, not just now, I think even for Super Rugby.
That's it from the Bobescast this week. As you said, we're back and we're visual. Hopefully next week we won't be in pain.